So I gotta tell you, in the last few years of traveling and living around the world, Shanghai was one of the places that impressed me the most. And so after my trip, I decided to put together a list for you of the top 10 things to do and see around the big city. The dimensions, the different areas, the different influences of Chinese ancient culture, European influence. The city is truly one of a kind. And some of those things, I'm sure if you're gonna go, you're gonna do them either way, but especially one of the last points, so make sure to stick around. I think it's something most people don't even consider to do when in Shanghai. And if you have been before, if you know your way around, let me know which one of these 10 things is your favorite. And if you have any additions, of course, let us know down in the comments below. Before we hop into the first one of the most impressive things I gotta say in the world, the thing is, if you are planning a trip right now, or generally if you're often on the road, you never know what exactly could happen. Maybe you eat the wrong things, maybe you go hike up some mountain, something happens to you. So in case you get sick or injured on the road, this is where for me a good travel medical insurance comes in with Safety Wing. It's basically a travel medical insurance that covers you almost all around the world, 180 plus countries, up to $250,000. And what makes them special to me is the fact they kind of work like a subscription. If you need it for a week or two, you can choose the specific dates and get a rate for that. You can use it as your long-term travel medical insurance, just month by month, but cancel at any moment. So it's kind of like a pay-as-you-go subscription. And it's really easy to set it up. Even if you're already on the road and traveling, or you're in the airport, it takes a couple of minutes to sign up, you get your insurance certificate, and you're ready to go. And another important thing is there's a $0 deductible. So even the smallest things that might happen to you, you can claim them. There's a 24/7 hour support line if you have any questions or you need to report something. It's very easy to do. It's not just if you get sick or injured. It covers travel delays. If something bad happens, it covers the flights back home, even things like lost luggage. Just check out the website. So with coverage from just a few dollars a day. For me personally, the easiest option to stay safe while on the road. I'll make sure to leave it first things down in the description. If you're planning a trip, if you love to travel, Safety Wing to stay on the safe side. And so let's hop into Shanghai. One thing you definitely gotta do, I would say the moment you arrive, at least that's what I did, is go down to the Bund.
Wow. So basically the TV tower is kind of in the front and it's arched, so the river is flowing like that. And the buildings are also lined up like that, some big crystal ball.
What makes it special, it's kind of like a promenade along the river. You see the futuristic Pudong with its big buildings, but even more so on the side that you're at, you're seeing European influence with the style of many structures most comparable to kind of European city, partially Gothic, Baroque, neoclassical. At least from what I can tell, I was really surprised by this big contrast and the influence over the last couple of decades. But honestly, for me, these big buildings on the other side, these ships flowing through. And another thing, you're probably not gonna miss it unless you stay in at the wrong time, the light show over Pudong. It's truly spectacular. In some ways, it reminds me a bit of the Hong Kong skyline. And after debating, I gotta tell, for me personally, Shanghai wins a bit. It's a bit more aesthetic, the skyline is a bit closer. My personal opinion, let me know down below if you have been to both places, which one you think is more impressive. But just walking around the promenade is also pretty chill. Depending on the day, there might be a lot of tourists, but still it's a very long walk. So absolute must-go spot, the Bund and the evening light show for number one.
What's your name? Turleman. Okay, 谢谢. English is limited, but the smiles are real.
For number two, let's get a bit of a feeling for Chinese culture. Let's see really the old sites with the Yu Gardens. So these gardens were first built in 1559, and basically there was ponds, traditional architecture, and maybe what I liked even more about it is that around it is the Yuyuan Street. I hope I pronounced these things correctly. And there's this market where on one side you can kind of get like touristy things, but if you wander into some side alleys, there's also really authentic street food, and generally all these buildings, these structures, kind of a nice mix of locals as well as tourism. Super cool spot overall, the whole area, the gardens, as well as the Yuyuan market. Make sure, put it on your list.
How much?
25.
25. So like $5, yeah?
20, okay.
No. I can do 7. Are the negotiations continuing? I thought this is how it works. 15. Okay.
Well, and speaking of food, I gotta tell you, I'm not the biggest foodie, but Asian food, and in particular Chinese food, there is such a huge variety on the different regions. So definitely a must thing do is try out all the different street foods, starting from dumplings to different soups to different meat on a stick. If you walk around through Shanghai, basically everywhere, even in the more fancy districts, you're gonna find some form of street food or like little restaurants. And it's also fairly affordable, more affordable than I thought of. Shanghai is kind of like one of the biggest, the richest city in China, and with that you can get some like full-fledged meal for $3-4, honestly. If it's like something smaller, like a little baozi bun, $1 or so. So on the one side, great for budget traveling. On the other hand, really certain authenticity to it. It's like really people from either Shanghai or even from other provinces doing different foods, and great way to kind of like taste your way a little bit through the city. Of course, with such a huge metropolitan city, there's going to be a lot of shopping. And one of the main streets, especially if you're going to go to the Bund, you're not going to miss it, is the Nanjing Road. Just walking along it, on the one side, there's kind of like all the big brands that you know from anywhere else, be it the big chains, Zara, H&M, a huge Apple store, of course, but also some more like niche little stores, little trinkets. But again, it doesn't feel like super touristy. That's what I liked about it. There's a lot of tourists, but at the same time, also a lot of locals. It's a very long road, and if you have any shopping desires, you're probably gonna get everything there that you might need.
Very, very pleasant shopping street, and I'm surprised how it would be here. What are you selling, man?
Coffee market.
Oh, nice. Where is it? I can take a look at the coffee market? Is it far?
But we'll walk 10 minutes.
No, 5 minutes too much. Maybe tomorrow. Thank you, boss. Fake market. That might be a different video.
So I would say let's get a bit closer to this amazing view. There's different cruises going all along the river, around Pudong, around the Bund. Me personally, I was a bit last minute, so my solution was to take the ferry, also like a super budget option, if you will. I wanted to get to Pudong, and what I realized is hopping on a ship, kind of like approaching the Pudong or approaching the Bund, it just gives you such a unique perspective. The ferry, I think it was less than $1 if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay, so I just ended up paying cash, 2 yuan. It's like 30 cents.
Definitely make sure to hop on some form of ship to take the view in even a little bit better. And so now that with the ferry we arrived in Pudong, let's get to number 6 for today, which is make your way to the famous Pearl Tower. Pretty much no matter where in the city you are, if you're a little bit elevated, you see it from the distance, the way it's glowing at night. While you're walking there, you're going to be basically walking through the business district. You're going to see the Shanghai Tower, the 3rd tallest tower in the world, and it's kind of like a swirl. Looks super aesthetic, truly, you know, like a marvel of human engineering. I gotta tell you, I like myself like a nice city skyline thing, especially in the evening, lights up. It's kind of like always doing some form of a light show, and just being very close to it, truly impressive. There's kind of like a highway passing through it, a very different energy from right across the water, the Bund. So definitely worth a visit.
你好。
你好，我要5啊。
Yes.
好。
谢谢。
For number 7, let's dive in a little bit deeper into Shanghai and head towards the Jingan Temple.
Jingan Temple probably pronounce it a bit differently, but basically it's one of the oldest temples. I just saw a sign that this temple was established before the city of Shanghai itself, but over the years has been destroyed many times, then rebuilt. And yeah, it looks absolutely massive, especially surrounded by skyscrapers and malls. It's kind of interesting. At the same time, the way they preserved it, such an epic structure, and rebuilt it perhaps. Wow. And the whole district here is named actually after this temple.
But also you can walk along it. It's connected to the Nanjing Road as well.
Life over here. Not sure what it's about, but fit pandas. So starting off, we're basically at West Nanjing Road. There's like a kind of like a mall complex, lots of street food, but where I'm passing through is a little bit the older buildings, and when I first arrived here, that is the first area that I checked out. So I would say what is the coolest part about this neighborhood is very much the mix of old and new. I think this neighborhood until a couple of years ago was just old houses, and now they're kind of like transforming it into, yeah, just shops, things like that. Here, look at the type of cafes. Very busy. People are enjoying, and just the buildings. Again, they kind of like restored them, made like really cool, very tasteful places out of it. And I think for many people thinking of China, thinking of big cities, you would think it's only like new skyscrapers, everything. But I think what a way to preserve, on the one way, the old buildings instead of just tearing them down, but also like really, really chill. Oh, there's even the metro station. Exactly, this is where I came out earlier when I was arriving here. So yeah, this is the vibe around this neighborhood.
And for number 8 today, I would say a thing that has been recommended to me by locals, and I thought it's quite interesting: the Wukang Road.
We are in the district where is the Wukang Road, and almost anybody I talk to who has been to Shanghai, anybody at like the Places Estate, they say this is a legendary road. So the building we should be approaching here, the Wukang Mansion, it's kind of like very famous for the fact that a lot of politicians, celebrities, and from what I hear is basically the Wukang Mansion has been built in 1924, so celebrating the big one, 100 years. And it has been designed by, I believe, a Slovak architect or something like that, in the French style. And yeah, wow, okay, I get it. We must see it any second, but basically this is the road. We're gonna head there, and yeah, it looks very different, very European in many ways, very busy, cafes left and right. And so far that is Shanghai in so many ways so interesting, so many different contrasts, so many different vibes. Like Hong Kong doesn't have that for me that much, or of course like cities like Shenzhen or something like that, or oh wow, okay, so extremely well maintained as we see. So this is basically the building, has like a couple of nice balconies. Probably these boxes are air conditioning would be my guess. Looks a little bit like a small Flatiron building. Somebody was assassinated here. And it's funny, when you look up this building, there is this Google, like there's this search result that comes up, and it says, what is Wukang Mansion famous for? And then it says it's haunted by the ghosts, by the people that, what is the word we can use right now? Well, it's self-deletion, basically, let's say it like that.
Number 9, I would say let's talk about hotels and restaurants. It wouldn't be a good world to see video without it. Like, I always try to kind of like pick some places that cover different parts of the city, a different kind of experience. So during my week in Shanghai, I stayed on one side at the Middle House, which is very close to the Jingan temple, the Jewel Road that I mentioned before. And it's kind of like a nice modern concept. Best way to describe it would be it's a large boutique hotel, very lounge flavor to it, very modern. It's all about the aesthetics, and the location is absolutely amazing. Especially after a long day, you come back, you have a nice pool, you have a gym. So this was a couple days for me in the center of the city. But I gotta tell you, one of the best, or let's say most interesting hotels I've ever stayed is the Fairmont Peace Hotel. It's an absolute legend in this city, a palace. It's right at the water. It's one of the very few hotels that has an unobstructed view to Pudong. You see this epic skyline. They have a cool rooftop bar, so you can actually also just go up for drinks there. If you do anything, just go up there, have a drink, have a coffee. You're not gonna regret it.
So I have to say, probably one of the best rooftop views in the world in Shanghai, for sure. No doubt about it. For the evening hours, this must be one of the craziest dinner setups. So they have a couple of balconies. One is on the side I showed you earlier. This little balcony, they have one table here, on the other side is another one, and the view is absolutely breathtaking. So from what I've heard is they have a Michelin star chef here, and it's a set menu. So I'm super excited for what it's gonna be, but whatever it might be, with this view, we're gonna be good.
Amazing view, amazing city, amazing people, a beautiful restaurant manager. I mean, what else?
Beautiful food, as I see.
Thank you very much. We try.
So this is the second dish, which is a pink velouté. Okay.
Yep.
It's very spring.
Well, I started 15 when I was 15 years old. So it's been like 15 years old, a long time.
What about in Shanghai also for a long
Shanghai,
time?
no, only since 8 months.
Okay.
Brand new in Shanghai, brand new in China,
Right.
and I like it. Very nice. It's really
Nice.
good.
Phoenix restaurant. Hello. So looks like busy, popular. Lots of people here. Thank you. And so here we are at the Dragon Phoenix. As you can tell by the ambient Shanghai, it's like, you know, when you're on YouTube and you're like, busy Shanghai restaurant. And honestly, I think it's mostly actually people from outside, so very, very popular place. Wow, wow, wow. So we got dry ice.
The Chinese vegetable, and that's a very special spring vegetable, and you can only have it in spring.
This one, yeah?
Yeah, this one. And then dumpling skin is also mixed with the juice from this vegetable. That's why it makes it a little greeny. And this one is actually the dish that's served in a national catering.
Sorry.
The flour, the dressing on top of it, so it's different flavor. So this one is sweet and sour, this one is fried one.
So what is this we got here?
It's a Chinese bun.
Is it a baozi or like fried baozi? Shangjingbao? Shangjingbao. Okay. Here we got some fried fish. This bar, basically in the back. You can also come down here, have a couple of have a couple of drinks. Number 10 today. I mean, you probably have already noticed a lot of the things I mentioned today. I'm kind of like putting together one or two things that might as well have been a top 20 thing. For me, this is kind of like a 5 to 7 day itinerary to cover all these different things. And I mean, we'll be a bit busy, but if you still have 1 or 2 days left, this was a last minute suggestion I got from someone, is to just hop on a train and go to the neighboring city. Now, I thought like, I don't want to drive out for hours and hours, but for one night, I went to the neighboring city of Suzhou, and I gotta tell you, such a different energy, obviously a bit
more of a Chinese city, less like metropolitan than Shanghai, and I really liked about it. Known for its canals, bridges, and classical gardens. So I believe basically there's a garden dating back to the 15th century, so a lot of history there, while at the same time with a huge contrast with, I believe it's called Gates to the east. Once again, China at its best, super futuristic buildings, new developments. It's kind of like by the water again, looks absolutely aesthetic. And it's only really like a 20-30 minute high-speed train ride away. It's also not expensive, costs like $20 to get there. And if you have a day, it's kind of like still considered part of Shanghai region, even though it's a separate city.
So this is perhaps the first right now. I just saw a toilet in a metro station and it looked nice. Very human. Seriously, it's like one of those biggest problems. You're going to the metro and you don't know if you're gonna survive. First time in the world. I'm sure it exists, but the first time I'm seeing it. And so we have arrived in time for a pretty beautiful sunset actually, and we are, what the hell, at the Gates of the Orient, I think that building is called. And basically it's a huge building. Let's change the lens. Okay, that works better now, I think. So basically I think if we're gonna walk away a bit further, you're gonna see it better. But it's a humongous structure. I'm just starting to see it myself right now. Wow, it's gonna light up, it's probably gonna be amazing. And that is the crazy thing about China. There are so many different cities with what in any other country would be an iconic skyline, whereas here it's just like regionally, I'm sure this is a legend, but there's so many different developments which I find quite impressive. So basically here we're standing right in front of it, people taking pictures. It's basically two buildings and then they're arched on top and connected.
So definitely make sure to check out Suzhou. So this has been more or less my top 10, or like I said, maybe even top 15, top 20 of different neighborhoods in Shanghai. If you're planning to travel there, let me know which one looks the most intriguing to you. Let me know what your plans are. I'll be curious to hear. But I'm sure some of you watching have been actually to the city. So I've spent a good, 9 days in Shanghai, 1 night in Suzhou. I already plan my next visit, very likely this year. So if you have any recommendations or suggestions down below, this is kind of like a little compressed version for first-timers coming to Shanghai. And if you are new here by any chance, on this channel I document my life around the idea of building a life of freedom around the world. And what that means for me is I try to go to different cities, to different countries, and what I'm most interested in is how does the life look on the ground, how does it feel, what is potentially the future of the city or the country. And very often I find myself going back to places, sometimes even spending multiple months there. And I gotta say, overall, just this little window into China with Shanghai, obviously probably one of the most easiest places to travel. It really awakened a certain appetite within me to see more of China. Also, of course, for the adventure factor, go to cities where it would be probably much more adventurous, much more interesting. Shanghai, I'll see you very soon. And if you want to stay in touch with me, best way is on Instagram to see where I am right now. I'm actually in a different country in Asia right now. Country I've never been to before, but more about that very soon. God wills.